at 5:32. First item would be the approval of the order of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to need your help tonight, Vic. I
I was like, what are you waiting for? Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the order of the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions about the consent agenda as presented?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Please pull the board, Jeff.
Oh, I will.
Oh, no,
Commissioner
sorry,
Hill?
Dave.
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson?
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch?
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan?
She's in.
All right.
That's a yes.
So we're on to the regular agenda.
This is what 50 degrees does to people. We're in for a long summer.
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. All right, we want to recognize the audience. Do we have members of the audience who would like to speak today? Trying to read this anyway? No?
That's it.
All right, then let's go on to the executive director's report. Dave Leaker.
Thank you, Madam President. So we got 5 items on topic for tonight. I'll start off with a flood update. We began filling sandbags up at Edgewood Golf Course this morning. We're currently working towards a goal of about 30,000 sandbags. With the flood predictions as they currently stand, it puts us in that area up at Edgewood, that 28 to 31 foot, which means we need to try to protect that bowl area. The bowl is impacted at about 27.5 feet when it starts creeping onto the course, which is about 6 holes. And we can predict an additional 2 to 3 feet on top of that. So anywhere from that 28 to 31 feet, we feel we've got a very good chance of keeping the water out of that bowl area or 6 holes. El Zagle, as we move on through the flood profile, is at about 34 feet. If you see that levee along Elm Street, it starts cresting that levee at 34 feet. So if they predict a flood that's going to go to 35, 36, we'll move our resources down to El Zagle and put a 2-foot levee on that and keep the water out of that El Zagle bowl area. If the flood, goes much above that, then El Zagle would flood, but we do have a lift station there that we can pump that water out in a couple days. It's just beneficial to us to try to keep the water out. It's easy to clean up, and we can get the course open probably a week or 2 earlier. As we move down through the park system, we've got a lot of riverfront parks that are going to be impacted at, that 19 to 25 foot level. And if you get up to 30 feet, there'll be a lot of cleanup along those riverfront parks at, Oak Grove and Trefoil, Lindenwood, down into Forest River, Orchard Glen. There'll be some moderate cleanup down there, not a lot since it's all conservation area. At Rose Creek Golf Course on hole 13, there's an upper green and a lower green. The lower green's impacted at about 24 feet. Typically doesn't cause us an issue if it goes underwater because all the grass is dormant, so it usually comes out pretty well once we wash that silt off. And then it also does start to come over the fairway on hole number 12 at about 24 feet, Dave? Yeah, 24, 25 feet. So currently, they're projecting the river to hit 27 feet by Sunday night, which means we would have to have that levee in place at Edgewood prior to that. So we'll continue to make sandbags up there throughout the rest of this week. We did about 6,000 bags a day, looking to do another 10,000 tomorrow. We've got a lot of our park maintenance staff and other staff up there helping create bags. I know Commissioner Dawson asked if we need any additional help with volunteers at this time. We think we can all do it in-house. And then it's just a matter of listening to the National Weather Service. It doesn't look like, and this is just me talking, that the river's gonna hit that 27 foot by Sunday because it just hasn't moved today, but I guess we'll find out through the weekend. So I don't know if there's any questions commissioners have for myself, or Dave Beats is probably the holder of most of the information. It's been a while since I've been out there, but
I was just wondering, have they, the National Weather Service, have they given any prediction for crests?
They have given some inclination that over the course of the next week, we'll see the river rise to a level of about 30 feet. The information they're providing currently is that we shouldn't necessarily relax at that it could eventually go higher than that. So the question, they haven't really given a crest prediction just yet, but they have told us to expect a level of in that low 30-foot range, and then that may stay there for a period of time, and to anticipate it going higher than that.
Thank you.
Is the 30,000 sandbags, is that typical for what we would do in a flood year? Or obviously El Zago, a few years ago, we kind of changed that course, but is that?
yeah, I would say for what we can protect at Edgewood is about that 30 to 31 foot flood level, and that's about 30,000 bags. If you spread them out throughout the course, once it hits above 31 feet, you just can't keep it out anymore. So you really don't need any more than that. And then if it is forecast to go above that, then we'd use those resources and go down to El Zago and try to protect it if it's going to be in that 34, 35, 36 foot flood range. And then the rest of the parks along the river are just more of a cleanup operation. There's really, we've got our clubhouse at El Zago, which was reconstructed, so that's out of the flood impact areas. Most of it's just cleanup after the golf courses. Those are the two we kind of can protect from.
One of the city commissioners said last night that they have 80,000 sandbags ready, but wasn't it like 3 million, which is the typical if it's really a flood year?
Yeah, back in 2009, I think it was 3 million bags, and they've reduced that significantly. Like you said, it's less than 100 now. There's probably more need in the county than the city right now.
So the bags we have aren't placed yet. They're just
palletized
you
right
just
now.
made 'em. Got it.
Correct. Yeah, our plan, as Dave mentioned, is to continue to fill bags and monitor the information coming from the National Weather Service. Over the course of the next 2 days, if the river starts to show a steep rise like they're anticipating, then we would look to make the decision to start laying sandbags on the course. Based off of what we're observing right now, I don't know that we're going to look to do that yet this week. It might come over the weekend or early part of next week, if at all.
And is there snow where you need to place them yet, or?
There is. Our crews have been busy. All of the Parks Department crews have been hard at work clearing paths to areas where we may need to sandbag. We do have a volunteer effort going on internally here at the Park District, so all the other departments are, folks from those departments are volunteering their time over the course of the next 3 days to help us pre-fill these bags.
So for curiosity's sake too, do we kind of fill our own bags basically alongside where the county does? Is that kind of, or do we have our own kind of separate?
We do our own. I was working initially with the county and then also with the city. Due to the timeliness of this event, we weren't able to participate filling bags. We needed that 30,000 mark is what we're trying to get to. The city and county weren't able to commit those bags for us because they're unsure if they can fill the amount of bags that they might anticipate needing. I think they've got a great plan now. I've watched a lot of the presentations over the course of the last day. I'm confident, and I know they're confident they can now fill the bags they need, but they were unable to allow us then to participate and take 30,000 off of that total. So we have our own equipment. We have for a number of years in these instances filled our own, just because we understand that protecting homes and city infrastructure is a lot different than protecting turf. And so, years ago, we made that determination that we're going to start to house our own flood fighting equipment. It certainly is nice when we can participate if there's more time, but we certainly understand in this event for sure that due to the timing, we kind of have to find our own means.
So are you doing this at the north, where are you doing this?
This
North
is
Shop?
happening right up at Edgewood Maintenance
Oh,
Shop.
okay.
That's where we're filling them and storing them inside that maintenance shop so they don't freeze. And then if we need to place them, they're right there ready to go.
More the old fashioned way than the spider.
We're
in
not
between.
it's in between. We
Okay.
have some that attach to skid steers. We do have a standalone unit that fills bags quite nicely, but not quite as advanced as a spider machine.
Better than the way old days.
Better than a shovel and a
Out in
person
the
holding a
rain
bag.
and a shovel and, yes, yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Moving on to a golf update. So we kicked off the golf season. I mean, it's pretty nice out there. Still a lot of snow with our first golf staff meeting this morning. I know the question is, when are we going to open? But it's still too early to predict. It's going to cool down a little bit, and there's still a lot of snow to melt. But one thing I can guarantee is we'll probably open, our courses on some type of a staggered schedule, just because we're going to have some that are impacted with floodwaters and some that aren't. So we'll get them open as soon as we can. And I'm guessing Prairie Wood and if the water stays below 34 feet, El Zago and then Osgood are going to be our first 3 courses. So talked to the group this morning, and they're all doing very well on their staffing levels. I think throughout the golf, they're probably at 80 to 90% filled right now. So that's very good. So the steps we took last year to get our wages up through the budgeting process looks like it's helping. And I think also our marketing and communications team has done a nice job advertising. So kind of on a fun note, and if anybody's seen any of the kind of advertisements, our Muni Misfits studio is almost complete and ready to go live. We've got several of the stars behind me. This is just a small studio we created. I believe it's in the RDJ
Yo, this is getting
Building.
serious.
and so that's where they're going to that's where they're going to tape their podcast. So that's kind of exciting. They've done a lot of nice job on their advertising. I heard a little bit from Mr. Beats next to me today. They got some pretty cool ideas for some other advertising pending what we do with our sandbags or flood outlook. So it's going to be pretty neat. We're also working with our restaurant vendors. Carolyn's done a nice job with them, trying to keep them appraised of what's our potential opening. Again, we just don't know for certain, but we want to try to give them at least 2 weeks notice so they can gear up. We don't want to give them false hope, have them gear up, and then the courses are still shut down, because that's almost more detrimental than opening late. So we're staying in good contact with them, and work's progressing very well down at Rose Creek. And I think we're all going to be pleasantly surprised down there. So a little update from Courts Plus. They said memberships have been solid so far. There are currently 20 memberships above their goal for this quarter, which is awesome. So good job, Courts Plus. Recreation, Stephanie D'Ambrosio is finishing up her graduation project with the FM Leadership Program. And what this is, each member of the class participates in something called a Community Change Initiative. This element of the program allows the individuals to identify a need or issue in our community, and then they challenge them to find a way to solve the problem with a solution. So I know everybody that's participated in that Leadership Academy it's been a great experience. I know Dave participated several years ago and thought it was excellent. So our Butterfly Ball, which was March 31st and April 1st, sold that out both those nights, 800 tickets. Part-time hiring for our aquatics department. Out of over 100 staff we need, they're only 10 short. So again, in that 90% range, which is awesome. And then this is just more of a reminder for our upcoming facility and May board meeting. So we did push back that April facilities committee meeting to May 3rd. And this is going to be a joint meeting for our facilities and budget committee meeting. So we'll start with the budget meeting from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and then finish up with the facility committee meeting will be from 1 to 3 p.m. and the budget meeting will be from 3 to 5 p.m. on that Wednesday, May 3rd. And then the main 9th board meeting has been moved to May 16th. So just a reminder for everybody. And I know Tara's sent out emails and reminders, but just wanted to top that off for the update. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
I have a question. This is a question that a few people have asked me. It had to do with the butterfly ball. And I think the image that's shown is a little girl in a nice little dress and dad. And the questions were, can boys go too? Can you take a boy and a girl? Can't boys like butterflies? All that sort of questioning. So that's all I know. I don't know anything about the butterfly ball, but
Yes, Commissioner Morgan, yes, the answer is yes. It's all-inclusive event. I did attend the recreation staff meeting this week, and this was an item that was discussed because some of that same information had come into the park district. So I know our marketing team and our recreation team are working, to better represent that, to show a more inclusive image and just to try and market that, because you're absolutely right. Everybody is welcome to attend that.
I would think so.
Yep.
That's good. And I think that message needs to get out because people have stepped up to me and said, what about this?
Yep.
I think it used to kind of be phrased as or marketed as like a father-daughter dance, and now I think that's changed recently, right? Where it's what kind of phrasing do we use now to describe it or to advertise it, I should say, to kind of parent or because then it was like, well, you don't want to say parent-child because then it should be guardian.
Sorry, I can come out of my closet.
Yeah.
We marketed it this year as an event for children and their special role model.
There it was, yeah.
And we did, the cover was a mom and son. So we did change the imagery as best we could. And I know Cassie worked really hard to get more imagery that was more inclusive of all sorts of relationships. But yeah, I think it was like ages 5 to 12 and a special role model.
Yeah, and it might have been useful too to show more than 2 people. Or
Yeah.
is that possible?
Yeah, and we were really limited on our photography, and so again, I know she made an effort. She attended, and she made an effort to be more inclusive with photography, so that proactively next year we can market it a little bit better with the photos.
We probably have to get consent from those individuals as well, right? To use their image.
I think going to the event is consent, right? I'm
Right.
not.
Based on what we understand, they are coming to a park district event, and by purchasing that ticket, it is something that they've given their consent. And then we've also notified them generally at the front door that says, this is a event that will be photographed.
So an event that sells out every year, now we have even more people wanting to go. Are we looking to expand it or do anything different to?
That would be a question for events.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm guessing we would potentially look to expand it. We've already expanded it from 1 night to 2 nights over the last several years, so.
And I think isn't there another group doing something sort of similar to it?
And
I
that's the
think?
other thing. And when it first started many, many years ago, there weren't that many of these kinds of events. And now there are different youth groups and family groups that are offering it on all sides of the river. And so, again, if you want to come in the spring, you want to come in the fall. And so it isn't like you can't find an event for this a group of people to enjoy.
Yeah, our elementary school does one as well. So I think everybody's seen how popular this is, and I'm guessing other ones do as well. That it's a great event.
Thank you. What have we got next, Dave?
All right, well, welcome Commissioner Rosted. Our next item is our department update, and this is the first one that we've had so far, and kicking it off will be our golf department. So I will turn that over to Dave Beats for introductions. Carolyn? I didn't know if we were starting with the pros or the maintenance.
Yeah, we have a special presentation for you, a PowerPoint that the golf department has put together. Just to remind you, our golf department is 2 18-holes, 3 9-hole public golf courses. We have 13 full-time staff and over 120 part-time employees that take care of those courses. And then we have 36 plus tournaments annually, 13 plus leagues, and over 130,000 rounds played each year. And so what we've asked tonight is for the staff that Dave Beats and myself lead to come here and tell you about what their plans are for the summer. This is by your invitation. And so we'd like to do a short little presentation that talks about the golf courses and gives you a little bit of a insight to the marketing that we did as well. So our first presenter is Chris.
Now, Chris, before you get started, are you going to show this commercial with the
Yep.
with the golf cart and the ski
we are.
goggles and everything? Or
We are, but that's going to be later.
That's at the
correct?
end. We
All right.
have,
Okay,
we have some at the end.
We're
Otherwise,
teasing it
we'll
right
help you.
now.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
help you find them all.
Gotta bring
Perfect.
it home.
That's right. Got to
Perfect.
keep you involved here. So first off, my name is Chris Larson, head golf professional at Osgood. This is my second season there, and honestly, we're looking for an awesome season again. As far as the opening, we're in a better position than most. We've got the ability to open the golf course as soon as this snow gets out of here. So we're hopeful that we can be early to mid-May, right, Ryan? Yes. So as far as flooding outlook, we don't really have much on the horizon there. Upcoming projects, the irrigation system is a big one that we have. So when Osgood was first built, we kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, because this is, Ryan, you might have to step in here, bud, okay? As far as the irrigation system is concerned, it was put together with decoders, am I right? Am I on the right track? Okay. So we need to update the decoders in order to increase the efficiency right now. So they're outdated. We have to outsource, do anything that we can to get spare parts and things like that. So right now we're looking to get that thing updated so that way it can run to full efficiency. Okay. And then a big project that we finished up last fall was the faults on hole number 6 and 8. We had an issue with sloughing, essentially. So those banks were eroding into the irrigation ponds, and eventually that was going to lead to choking off some of the irrigation that would then lead to the pump house. The pump house that was located on 8 was also sitting next to a fault line, so that had to get shored up as well. So all of this is to make sure that we're good to go for irrigation for many years to come. So, and as far as the project, they did a tremendous job. They were in, they were out. It looks like it's going to be pretty seamless going into 2023 here. So, and then driving range updates. Everyone is anxious about the artificial tee line. Now that we got this artificial tee line, are we going to be able to open sooner? We need to get the snow out of there first, but we're definitely going to be using it for the springtime. So that's that. I would think that the amount of people that are going to be using that artificial tee line is going to be a tremendous asset to the Fargo Park. So we're pretty pumped about that. We did use it in October. We just switched all of our driving range usage back to the artificial tee line. The feedback that we're getting from that is overwhelmingly positive. You know, a lot of people are so accustomed to those artificial mats that hurt your wrist, or you know, they're really hard and they bounce. But this tee line, this artificial turf that we put in, it's fantastic. It really it's the same thing as like hitting off of the grass. And you know, honestly, for teaching lessons, it's fantastic there too, because the ball tends to get up in the air a whole lot quicker, and golf's a whole lot more fun when the ball goes up in the air. So we're really excited to start the season with an artificial tee line there. We are welcoming on some new staff in the Fargo golf department. All of us have full-time assistants now at our facilities. I'm lucky enough to have Christian Stensgaard, who is our assistant golf professional last year, so he's taking over in that full-time role. We'll probably talk more about that as far as Discover Golf is concerned, but all the assistants are jumping in with the junior golf and the increased roles and responsibilities that deal with the full-time staffing. So we're excited about that. Joe Gross is our first assistant superintendent for the maintenance side. So I think we had a quick round of hiring there as far as the assistant. There's a little bit of a carousel there. So welcome on Joe Gross as the first assistant there. And then as far as the seasonal staffing is concerned, we are doing pretty good at Osgood. I just heard in the department meeting today, Ryan is pretty much full with his staff on the maintenance side. And then as far as my staff, we're at about 75%. So we still can hire on some driving range. We can still hire on some golf shop employees, but really we're looking at the beginning of the season pretty positive on the staffing side of things. So that's a good thing. Brutus Clubhouse updates. I don't have a whole lot to say there other than we're operational right now. So that's good. We've got a restaurant. We're ready to receive guests there. We're open from 3 o'clock until midnight for most days. Then that will switch over once we have golf. Okay. Leagues and lessons tonight. And I apologize, right after I get done with this presentation, I got to book it back to Osgood because we actually have league kickoff night for women's league tonight. And that's going to be really fun. So that goes from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We got a full house. And then tomorrow night we have our men's kickoff night, and that will be another full house. So as far as leagues are concerned out at Osgood, I didn't know what I was getting into, honestly, when I took over the job. The leagues are very, very positive and well received out there. So we're going to continue on with our league participation. We got probably about in the ballpark of 200 to 250 people that actively participate in men's league, and then probably another 175 or so that actively participate in women's league. So that's really cool to see. And then as far as the senior leagues, we've got senior men's league, senior women's league, and the senior men's league is crazy. We get over 100 guys that participate in that weekly as well. So it's a very active, very busy little golf course. We're excited to have those back too. And lessons, we're going to have a full slate of lesson schedules. We already have about 75 kids signed up for the Osgood specific junior golf programming. We expect to see that somewhere in the ballpark of 100 to 125 kids this year. And the fact that we've got this many kids signing up already and we still have snow on the ground. Snow is a big part about getting that participation. If we have snow on the ground, we get the limited participation. If the snow's gone, geez, everybody's signing up. And the fact that we already have about that 75 kids right now, that's big. So, and then we will continue on with our women's specific programming. We'll continue on with our individual lesson programming. The fact that I like to say we've got the best practice facility in town. No, nothing against you guys, but our practice facility with the 3-hole loop and the big driving range and now the artificial tee line and the way the golf course is set up in the 4-leaf clover just makes it so accessible, so easy to teach, and it's so welcoming. So it's a pleasure to teach there. It's a pleasure to facilitate all of our lesson programming out there. So, and then it's not on here, but we are going full bore with Muni Misfits. So, and yep, Muni Misfits will be a weekly podcast and vlog. I don't know what the correct terminology is there. We're learning. But thanks to the marketing department for all that they've done. Tori has just absolutely knocked it out of the park, setting up the studio, helping us out on the production side of things. The fact that we get to work pretty seamlessly with the marketing side has been awesome. So they've been great. And if you got any requests, if you guys want to be on the show, we'd be happy to have you on. So do you guys have any questions as it's concerned with Osgood?
Sounds like you'll have another busy season.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That'll be
the
great.
fact that I'm having people go, hey, can you talk to Chris and see about league?
Yeah.
That's a good sign. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Good.
Great report, Chris.
All right. Thanks.
And so next we'll have Greg and Jason come up to talk about Edgewood and Alzego.
Nice part about being second is Dave Leaker covered the majority of mine. Chris got the rest. So I'm going to turn the first part over to Jason. He can talk about the top stuff there, and then I'll finish up at the end.
So for this year, we're hoping we get by with a nice, calm, no flooding. But we're preparing and like we always do, we'll watch the forecasts and react as we need to. For this year, we have a new first assistant. He is Eric Smith. He started about, it's been a couple weeks now, he's been on. So I think he'll be a valuable asset. We had a little hired one. He got a superintendent job, so we had to quick scramble and hire another one. But we ended up getting a good hire, so it should be a good season there. For our big projects coming up, we will start construction in August for the artificial range tee at Edgewood. So similar to what Osgood has, a little smaller. It'll help us out quite a bit when the colleges get out there, and instead of tearing up our smaller range tee, we can kind of push them towards the artificial one, which should help give us a better product long term. Um, let's see, what else do we have? You know, our biggest thing right now is we're just all geared up watching the flood, and so hopefully, if that cooperates, we get the snow out of here, we can be open and have a normal season. But any questions for me?
Short and sweet. We'll start with new staff for me, Tom Porton. We hired Tom as a full-time assistant. Tom worked for us last year. He's been in town. He worked at Fargo Country Club previously for a couple of years, so he's back. He brings a wealth of knowledge with junior golf and lessons, and I think as we move forward, when Matt talks about Discover Golf as well, we're excited to have Tom. There'll be more programming involved with him, so we're pretty excited about that. Seasonal staffing update. Edgewood, I think we're doing a pretty good job there. We could probably use a little help at El Zago, but you know, we appreciate the fact that our hourly rate went up, and I think that's helped all of us. So thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it. Edgewood Tavern updates. Keith Stensgaard and I are talk daily. He hasn't been through what might happen down the road, so he's a little worried about that. But we're talking as much as we can, and like Dave Leaker said, he would like a 2-week window, so we'll do our best there to give him opportunities, but he's ready to go once we get going. So that's a good thing. Leagues and lessons, you know, Edgewood Leagues, our men's club's got 220 guys signed up right now, chomping at the bit. We had our spring banquet about 3 weeks ago, which is good. Our ladies leagues, both morning and afternoon, they start usually after the golf course opens. They're excited to play, but they want to make sure they can get out there right away. They don't want to wait 3 weeks before they get going. So we're excited about that. Lessons, Tom Porton, a great teacher, myself, great teacher. So we have a lot of stuff that we're going to do moving forward, both with lessons for individuals, groups, and things like that going forward. El Zagle, lots of requests for events, which is something different for us. So we're getting more of that going on. I think you'll see with Discover Golf, PGA Junior League, Junior Fargo Parks Junior Golf, and also high school golf and junior high golf. That's kind of where we're trying to take that part of our segment of play over there. So you'll see a lot of kids' activities over there as we go along. Any questions for me? Just save all of them up for Matt. Thank you. We really appreciate all help. Tori, Kylie, Carolyn, marketing department, they're knocking it out. Yep.
And next, Matt is going to visit about Rose Creek and Prairiewood. Eric is unavailable, but Joel is in charge while he's gone.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for having us, first of all. It's always great to kind of enlighten you on what's going on in the golf world. We appreciate all your support. First of all, my name is Matt Cook, and I'm at Rose Creek Golf Course and Prairiewood Golf Course. Probably just jump ahead just a second. Jack Powers, who's my new assistant, isn't here tonight. He had some other activities going on that he couldn't make it. But we do have Joel in the audience from our maintenance team, along with Eli. So thank them for coming on out. They do a wonderful job. They got some work ahead of them, hopefully this spring. So we're really excited. I mean, obviously, as far as opening date, kind of a little bit up in the air right now. Rose Creek is also prone to possible flooding, but right now, the way things are going, we're thinking that's going to be pretty mitigated. And our team's been through it so many times that they always knock it out of the park. And so we look forward to at least having 9 holes open as soon as possible. And depending on what the water does, we'll be getting all 18 open. if you've got any flood numbers you're kind of curious about too, I know Joel's got some of those numbers as well. I don't want to put him on the spot, but as you kind of look as far as upcoming projects, this past year, Eric and his staff have been working, who's the group that they've been working with, Joel, as far as in the plantings, the native plantings? Yeah, I think prairie restoration. So they're basically looking at a lot of areas that tend to be out of play and trying to make them where they're very little or no maintenance whatsoever. So it makes it not only kind of beautiful and being nature friendly, but it's also reducing as far as our work hours. And so that's helping quite a bit. And so they're continuing to look at some of those areas and we'll add to that. Also doing some drainage and irrigation projects as well. As Greg and Chris had mentioned, seasonal staffing has been going really well. I think Joel also said things are good on the maintenance end of it. And we've probably had as many applicants this year as we have in quite some time. So that's been very positive as well. Talking with our food and beverage provider, they also said that it's been very, very good in that market as well. So kind of moving into that, they kind of are really excited about getting going. Their staffing's ready to roll. They're going to kind of roll things out and coordinating with the golf course opening or the driving range opening, whatever ends up being sooner. And they've done some minor improvements as far as both upstairs and then have done some pretty substantial work down in the grill next door, or the kiosk as they call it. And so I think those will be some positive changes the golfers will really appreciate. Going into leagues and lessons, we just finished up our membership drive today for both our men's and women's leagues at Rose Creek Golf Course. And looking at the numbers so far, yeah, we're in for a really good year once again, as far as I think with both just not only leagues, but also our corporate schedule has once again done very, very well, as that tends to kind of have a lot of the repeat individuals once again. And we get a lot of requests for events. And so we continue to have to turn down quite a few as we try to balance that active balancing it between public play and, corporate play. And so Greg and I try to put those puzzles together. Oh, and I also wanted to say that since Chris is gone, actually Rose Creek has the best practice facility, but I think that's pretty much a wrap. Anybody have any questions at all as far as moving forward, Rose Creek or Prairiewood? Prairiewood also, things are looking good out there. I think no signs of any issues at this time. I have Mason Kennedy back for me that's kind of leading the show there. And we have a lot of returners there on that facility as well. So we're looking for good things moving forward at Prairiewood as well. So,
Do you want to talk about the paragolfers?
oh yeah. So I want to say approximately a decade ago, we invested in a single rider golf car, which makes it easier for an individual that may have some impairments or issues as far as being able to move around as far as traditionally on a golf course. And we've been working with a group, Dare to Stand Out, who's come to us and has done some fundraising on their own to help us purchase an additional, I guess we had some skin in that too, right? We're going to have 3 additional golf cars, 2 of them what they call solo riders, which we currently have, and the 4th one will be, I call it the Paragolfer still, although I know it's changed names. And these are some really unique single rider golf cars. It allows the individual, for one, to be able to get in a position. So if you're an individual that's in a chair, you could actually get in that vehicle and it will actually have a hydraulic lift that'll get you into a vertical position where you'd be able to more easily be able to hit a golf ball in a traditional fashion once again. These things are designed that you can drive them through a bunker, you could drive them on the green without any detriment as far as to the turf or the conditions of the golf course. So we're really kind of excited about that and working with this group, and their interest has been kind of in golf right now because Chris Mapes, who kind of is the head of that organization, his brother Danny Mapes was an individual that was living in a chair, and he was an avid golfer and really got to turn out a good player. Never had something like this as far as like a solo rider or a para golfer. He basically ran out of a traditional golf cart, had his wheelchair on the side, and then he would kind of hop into that. And so that kind of really spurred, I think, the interest as far as in Chris kind of helping out with his brother's legacy. And so we're excited about getting those on in. We're excited learning a little bit more about it and about probably moving forward and doing some programming probably as early as 24 Both Greg and I and Chris Larson recently attended PGA Hope, which is working with veteran programming as well. And so it's kind of another avenue that we can attack as far as utilizing these adaptive golf cars as well. So it should be really kind of fun and a whole different market, and really giving some hope to some individuals that maybe ever thought they could never play golf before. So we're really excited about that.
How do you plan to get the word out, or how will people know they're available?
So what we're going to do, we've got right now already some plans. I don't know if I can let out a whole lot out of the bag, but we've got some marketing coming on up that could be really pretty big, working both with Dare to Stand On Out and also working already with our own marketing team. I think part of it's going to be like instruction. So we're looking at maybe trying to, as part of our programming, even doing some information and instructive type programming so that people will be more aware of that. You know, we didn't do a very good job as far as with the first solo rider about 3 years ago. It kind of was always hidden in the garage where we actually had the charging unit and kept it inside there. So people really didn't even know it was available unless, you know, we happened to hear that someone may be interested in utilizing that. So we now have that like out in front as far as at Prairie Wood. It's underneath the canopy. We've got a charging unit right there. So now at least there's some added exposure. If someone's walking by, at least they might kind of go, well, what is that deal there? It's only got one seat on it. So that's going to help. But I think through some of that, both some of the marketing we'll do as far as videos, some of the programming we'll do as far as kind of instruction and informational, I think we'll really start to kind of hopefully get that word on out, and that maybe that individual that is currently playing golf knows someone that might find that to be very beneficial. And so also looking at doing some programming, like I say, moving forward. You know, we've already talked with Chris Mapes and talking about even working with partnerships like with Hope Inc. And so, and then with the PGA Hope program, working with such organizations as are already our VA, VFW, American Legion, whatnot, as far as in the military aspect of it. So
With the one you had at Prairie Wood, you also had a gentleman who worked there who was extremely passionate about that too, right? Does he still work there?
no, I don't. I'm trying to think if you're thinking of Brad or.
I don't know. Well, it's fine. He had me try it out one time when I was out there, and he was like, you got to look at these things. These are huge. He was older. He was in his late 30s, early 40s.
And we have had.
I mean that meaning working the front desk at Prairie Wood, not. I know I just aged myself considerably there. Most of the guys working at the front desk or gals are in their late teens, early 20s. So
Yeah,
anyway.
I think between Greg, Chris, and I know we've all think this is a pretty cool deal, and I really look forward to kind of finding some ways to do some programming there.
Take
So
it for 9 holes.
yeah,
it was neat.
currently it's gotten some use, but it tend to be some of the same individuals, and it might just be that it's just easier to use, and the whole idea of being able to drive even closer to the greens and stuff like that. So it's been kind of beneficial there. But
Yeah, we've been
ahead.
talking a lot about with the foundation. You know, Rock Messerschmidt on our foundation board is connected to Chris Mapes and kind of helped bring that in. And for our foundation golf event, I know we want to kind of feature that, and we talked about that. That's just another potential opportunity to hopefully acquire more, and then even for sponsorship opportunities, right? To have, you know, corporate partners, you know, sponsor those, and I think I'm really, really excited about that component, and yeah, it's gonna be great.
and that was part of the part about building up a fleet so we can do some of those programming, because just having like one is kind of challenging. And so it's a great start. And just as you had mentioned, I know with Rock being on that, and we met here last week, talked about with those additional sponsor dollars of hopefully bringing on more golf cars so that we could maybe have like a small fleet at Prairie Wood Golf Course, but then also have like a couple maybe at each of the other golf courses as well. So as maybe individuals maybe start out something at Prairie Wood and they're kind of learning and growing with that. Now they've got that opportunity to say, well, I want to go play an 18-hole facility, or I want to try to play something different. And so, yeah, we're really excited. And I think there's going to be lots of opportunities there to grow that. But anything else at all?
Very cool.
Well, thanks once again.
Thanks, Matt.
Matt, you're going to talk about Discover Golf?
Yeah, and I'm Matt Cook. I'd like to talk about. I
thought
just-
maybe-
If you're whatever it's in Greg's. No, really excited. Greg and Tom Portman started talking about this last year even. It's called the Discover Junior Golf Tour. You may or may not know, but we're kind of going to be in a transition period moving forward into 24, where the golf program will be or the golf area will be taking over our junior golf instruction program as well, which is currently being run by our recreation department. So this will kind of run parallel and make a lot of sense once we get going with that in 24 as well. So we're really kind of excited. We're trying to, we were thinking of a name a little bit, and Discover kind of came as we're thinking, well, as young kids are starting this out, because this is starting out at age 7. That's basically discovering how to play golf. And this tour will be, like I say, from ages 7 to 18. So we've got a 9U component, a 12U component, an 18U component, and even a players tour component. As the younger kids will be playing more golf course such as Prairiewood, so a shorter golf course, just 9 holes. What's kind of fun is we really want this to be kind of a learning and fun experience. And so we're encouraging parents, guardians, friends that could serve as a caddy for these young individuals. So they're going to go through and not so much micromanage the whole play of the individual, but more so make sure that there's no tears, there's plenty of water and snacks to be provided as they work their way around the 9-hole facility. As they move into the 12U, that's also very similar to it, as we encourage parental involvement and to come around. And then as we get into like the 18U and the players, now they've hopefully kind of got some experience, stronger, bigger, and ready to play on their own. We're really excited about this because, like I say, once again, it's our professional staff. We really want to kind of put something very professional to it. With our instructional program, this will allow those individuals that are going through that to have playing opportunities as well as another way to learn and kind of enjoy the game. So right now, I think we've got, what do we have? I think about 152 entries so far. So it's coming along all right, and we look forward to, now that we're starting to see some more graphs, hopefully more and more individuals get interested in this. So yeah, it's going to be really kind of exciting, something brand new. And so, any questions on the Discover Junior Tour at all? Am I missing anything, Mac?
What's your season?
So basically, we'll start in June, and most of the events will wrap up by about, I think it's the 2nd or 3rd week of July. So it's all pretty tight. The 9U event only has 3 events. They'll all be at El Zagle. The 12U event, we end up utilizing El Zagle once again for 3 of those, and then the 2 9-hole facilities being Prairiewood and Osgood as 2. So they have 5 events for that one. The 18U will have 4 competitions. And the Players Tour is one that will have 3 2-day events. And the Players Tour, it's kind of similar to what like our Minnesota PGA section has done with their SOTA series. Those individuals that are probably playing maybe on their junior varsity level that may even aspire to play collegiate golf at some point, it's a great opportunity for them to kind of showcase their skills in that. The other thing is too, is Tom Portman, who is a former college golf coach, has really helped us as far as with a couple of organizations that do rankings nationally, and one of them Junior Golf Scorecard. So these will actually be recognized and scored by Junior Golf Scorecard. I think he's working on one of the other organizations right now. So I know, like, I've got a daughter who's a sophomore in school, and it's a challenge as far as like with the SOTA series. They're about the only one, unless you're going to go do something like what they call the AGGA, American Junior Golf Association, Hurricane Tour, Nota Begay Tour. A lot of these, you have to travel quite some distance, probably outside even the tri-state of Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, even to do some of this. And they're very expensive. So not to mention just the expensive entry, but your lodging and your distance travel and all of that. So we're trying to put together a much more economical and something that's much more close as far as in proximity, that they can compete and get some of the same exposure once again. So we're looking forward to kind of continuing to get some of those better players that want to participate in this. Running a very professional event. All events will be actually live scoring, so they'll be able to do that. So there's a lot of neat features to it. And we do have a sponsor, Bell Bank, has jumped on board. And so we're really excited with that partnership as well. They love it. And so we look forward to continuing that relationship and seeing that grow. And so
What's your maximum number of kids?
192 this year. So as far as total, as far as
That you can
memberships in the, yeah, correct, between the 4 different levels.
there anybody else doing it in the state? You got regional courses there, so are you like maybe Grand Forks, Valley City, Wapaton, anything like that? Or
This year, we are working with our partners across the river in Village Green and Meadows as two of the locations. And then we also wanted to take it and trying to work with Bell Bank and looking at some of the locations they're located in. We're actually having a 2-day event, one first day being actually in Detroit Lakes at the DL Country Club, and then Holly, Minnesota, as far as the Holly Golf Course. So those are a couple that are outside. But being our first year, we didn't want to get too deep. So we're just kind of, working around the kiddie pool for right now, and we'll see how that rolls and see if we can expand from there. So yeah,
Very
please pass the
cool.
word. We're continuing to our marketing team's done a great job also there of kind of helping prepare some stuff. We just introduced a video. Will that video be on?
Yep.
That video will be also on just shortly. So unless you have any more questions, I'll stop yapping.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thanks again.
Okay, now
Can he sit down?
you can sit down, because we'll run this, you can sit. Tori and I have to sync this, and then Tori will talk a little bit more about marketing. So 3, 2, 1, start.
Let's work.
So that is what marketing has put together to promote the Discover Junior Golf. And so I've got to turn that and go to the next, sorry. See if I can go to the next slide. Shoot.
So how many followers do the Muni Misfits have while Carolyn's doing that?
If you
subscribe
today, that'll be free.
I've already been watching. So I think you should make a goal of like 5,000 by the end of the season or 10,000 by the end of the season. And, I don't know. Commissioner Deutsch will jump into one of the ponds if you hit your mark or something.
It's waste management.
Can I second that?
tournament. I've always envied those guys at the waste management tournament gets to jump into the pond.
Oh, yeah. I think you are vloggers. Yeah.
I think we have about 150 subscribers.
Okay, so should we aim high or low?
We don't have many friends.
Let's go with 3,000. I think we could do 3,000. That's a goal.
Okay, we'll write it down. Matt, write it down. Yeah, -10. From a marketing perspective, we have really hit the ground running in the last, like 2 weeks. We actually recently launched a Fargo Golf Facebook page, and some context behind that is we've always had Facebook pages for the 5 golf courses, and generally would just post the same content on 5 courses. So buy your 5-for-1 season pass, and it would post 5 times. And when you're scrolling through your feed, if you follow 3 of them or 4 of them, you see the same thing over and over again. It just gets redundant. So instead, we launched Fargo Golf Facebook page, so that will cover all 5 of the public courses. We'll still post sporadically on the course-specific pages, but just course-specific information. So we launched that 2 weeks ago. We have, I think, almost 600 followers. So we're kicking off good so far. My goal for the end of the season was 1,500, but I think I aimed low. We're already at 600, so we'll see how that goes. But as part of that golf Facebook page, we have kicked off the new season kickoff videos, which Joe, you were kind of referring to earlier. So I don't know if you all have seen those, but those are the Is It Golf Season Yet videos. We have about 12 so far. We've launched 5, so a lot to come, and we're gonna show you one of those tonight as well. But those are all posted on the Fargo Golf Facebook page, so check those out. Those were really fun to film, and we had a lot of fun on the set and things like that. We're also really hitting the 5-for-1 season pass campaign on social media. So that's a combination of graphics, videos, posts, ads, all sorts of things just to push people to buy those season passes. And then, of course, Muni Misfits Season 2, which we have alluded to a few times. So as Dave said, we're just finishing up a little podcast studio on the 3rd level of RDJ so that we have a space that can be used and is always available and has good sound and video quality. And so hopefully from there we can, get to 3,000 subscribers.
Thank you.
So that the Discover video, was
Yeah.
that done in-house?
So we
you-
hired in-house, actually, is what they're
Okay.
called, to video it, but our
Okay.
team came up with the idea, picked the set, the video, the shots. Basically, they shot them and put them together.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of fun with that one too.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can show that next video. So I just click next, Carolyn? Okay. So those were really fun. We have several more to launch still. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like these kind of seem goofy, silly, but like these are the type of things that do engage people, right?
Right.
And so if they're paying
Mhm.
attention, and a lot of quirky, well, there's some beer brands that just do really weird, quirky things, and it gets people to pay attention,
Right.
right?
And I think everyone is ready for golf season. So we just kind of wanted to play on that little like angst a little bit. Like, is it golf season yet?
Well, and there's tradition too, right? Like even before social media took over the world, Greg and Matt and Lisa invented this concept of having us all wait for the spring commercials to come out on television that had them all doing silly, fun commercials talking about the spring season. So I think it's really neat. And yeah, I can't tell you them all off the top of my head, but I did. You just knew when they showed up on the commercials that
It was
golf
getting to be
season was
time.
right around the corner, and they always have something to do with the idea that the golf pros are even more antsy to get out there, and so they jump the gun and they crash the golf cart into a snowbank,
Yeah.
like in one of them that I got to watch. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Carolyn.
And if I can just comment, after 5.5 months of North Dakota weather, to sit here and look at these golf pictures, a calm just came over me this afternoon sitting here. So
Well, we thank you very much for the invite to be here, and I hope that you have learned stuff in this presentation. Obviously, there's more to learn, so please step out and check in with our golf staff anytime.
Thanks, Carolyn.
thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn, and thank all the golf staff and marketing staff. So moving on to agenda item number 4. Commissioners, this item refers to our pool bids that'll be coming up on the following item. And we did have our budget set at $16.9 million. And with the current construction environment and inflation, some of the scope of our project was in jeopardy. So we did discuss at the facilities committee meeting about using $1 million worth of private funds raised by our foundation, who's done a great job, and asking our commissioners to consider using that $1 million to increase the budget from $16.9 million to $17.9 million. As mentioned at the facilities committee meeting and tonight, this does not use any additional public funds. Those are capped at $16.9 million, but this would allow us to add as much recreational value to the pool and amenities as possible. And while we still hope to come in under that $17.9 million. So our request to the commissioners is to consider designating that $1 million worth of private funds towards the budget for the pool. And the $1 million was in sponsorship of the competition pool. So with that, I will open it up to any questions.
Do we need a vote on this?
Yep.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
to-
Okay.
I move to approve utilizing private funds raised for the pool by Fargo Park District Foundation to increase the Island Park Pool construction project as presented.
Second.
Further discussion? Full board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. Moving on to agenda item number 5 is what we've all come here tonight for, besides the golf update and community misfits. This is our first of our 2 big projects for 2023, is the renovation of the Island Park Pool. We did receive a second round of bids that were opened on Thursday, March 16th, and I'm not going to read all the packages, but you can see them on the memo that was included. It includes 7A to 33. We also had bid packages included in the first round of the bids that were opened on Thursday, February 9th, and those included bid packages 3A through 32B. We did have a very good bid opening, and included, commissioners, in your packet were 3 attachments. The first spreadsheet was a spreadsheet that Tyler Kirchner in the Fargo Park District put together, and this is the easiest one to kind of describe what we're looking at tonight. Something that we added since Facilities Committee meeting was the base project is that first column that's non-highlighted. And if you look at the bottom of that, total base project bids came in at $16,615,302.06. So that was our base project that we needed to keep under that $16.9 million, because until just the previous agenda item, that was our fund limit. If you look at under alternate pricing, that is that second column that it also has the red crossouts in there. Those were our add alternates list, which we did move some of our base projects into that alternate list so we could make that $16.9 million. And in meeting with staff and then a second meeting with the design team, we discussed, the value of all these additional amenities, and you can see the 4 that we felt just weren't in need of for this project. Taking all those ads that are shown in black came to a total of $1,555,913.33. So those are the ones that we are recommending to take the ad alternate prices along with the base price. And that's, if you can look in the third column, which are the green columns, those are the ones highlighted, and they total at the bottom of $17,774,371.73. The last 2 columns, I'll do a brief explanation. These are set aside until we get through some of our contingency concerns, and with a pool and the foundations for the pool basins being built kind of in a river bottom that Island Park Pool is set in. We wanted to hold off on these until we get the foundations out of the ground to make sure that we have enough funds to cover these. So the items in yellow, which is that right there, doesn't show up too well on the screen. Those items, once we get out of the ground and we haven't got burned through any of our contingencies, we would make the call to add those additional items as kind of that phase 1 contingency draw. And then if everything goes well, we would look at the phase 2 contingency draws in the blue. And if everything goes perfectly, I'm not saying it's going to go perfectly, but we would get all the scope that we recommend in the green highlighted and the base price for $17,556,731.15. And if we didn't use 1 penny of contingency, we'd still have $343,268.85 left over. Now we do, as with any construction projects, there are some contingencies that will need to be used, but we would hold off on that until we get those foundations out of the ground. So then on the next attachment just shows the full bid tab.
Well, hold on, Dave.
Yep.
So how is it that on the third column with the ad alternates, we're at 17.7, and then we have the contingencies, and if we add those in, we actually save about $200,000. What am I missing in the equation? I see a 293.
Yeah, so that 293, Commissioner Rosted, is 2% of the contingency that we added. We originally only had a 2% contingency, and we wanted to double that to make sure we were covered. So you can see the 293 in the phase 1 draw, and then the 293 in the phase 2 contingency draws. And those are there as kind of that cushion. If we don't use either one of those, That line in the yellow would come in at 242, which would actually come down, so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, I really appreciate too that the contingencies, as we talked in the facilities meeting, a number of them can be added later if we, which is nice that we're not kind of painting ourselves in a corner and saying, oh, I can't have a climbing wall now. It's nice that there's things we could identify that could be added as we get additional funding or sponsorship or whatever, which is
Yeah,
nice.
That's a good point. And the bigger thing is, if we needed to include these as part of the construction process, we want to get them done early. And as you said, the climbing wall can be added at any time.
Or someone can sponsor it.
Yes.
And then the last attachment was just the letter from gas general contractors on the recommendation for the low bids.
And no screw ups this time. It's all good, right? We don't have any legal, any kind of, I'm looking in the corner back there.
I really hope we can get those kind of the phase one contingencies in, you know, the timing scoreboard and the starting blocks and all those things. I think that'd be really helpful for the competitive swimming, you know, groups and to be able to host those meets and things like that. So hopefully we can do that. But I think it makes sense that we would, if we have to cut somewhere.
Yeah, this is going to be a great project once we get going on it. We're all excited about it.
Yeah, agreed.
Looks good.
All right. So we need a,
Would we like to make a motion to approve the bids?
I'll do the sample motion there. I'll make a motion to approve the bids for the Island Park Pool Replacement Project as presented.
second.
Clean.
Further discussion? Dave, poll the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Exciting. Big stuff coming.
Mhm.
People are excited.
Yes.
No, it's
I'm
going to be a
excited.
great summer.
Excited. Cannonball. I'm calling Barry to come back for it.
Okay, we've got number 6 here to consider approval of amendment number 3.
Thank you, Madam President. So item number 6 is the third of, excuse me, the third amendment to the developers agreement with Sanford regarding the Fargo Park Sports Complex. And with phase 2 coming online, we needed to address 4 points prior to approving the bids coming up in May. Bullet point number 1, this extends the responsibility for the architectural services and construction administration through phase 2 certificate of occupancy versus phase 1. Item number 2 defines how the initial $7 million will be due at the completion of phase 2 and how the remaining $8 million will be paid out annually once we receive that certificate of occupancy. Item 3 clarifies that any change orders requested by Sanford above and beyond the original gross maximum price, or GMP, shall be paid by Sanford. This has to do with some of their therapy pool additions. Number 4 clarifies the nature of the naming rights conferred by the Park District. It states the naming rights are given in recognition of the gifts from Sanford. I know during our facilities discussion, we talked a little bit about the signage, and we just want to reassure the commissioners that we are in the process of meeting with Sanford and Mike Erickson to address, it's very generic right now how the signage on the facility, the complex, the individual academy areas, their area is stated. So we just need to drill down that in more detail and get some exhibits associated with the 4th Amendment to this, just so it spells everything out in black and white. So we're currently working on that. We bring that to the commissioners as addendum number 4. So that's all I have with that item. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve amendment number 3?
I'll move to approve the amendment number 3 to the development agreement with Sanford.
Second.
Further discussion? Poll the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch.
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, number 7, board to consider approval of Nick Dawson reimbursement overage request.
Good evening, Commissioners. Item number 7 is in regards to our matching grant program through the Fargo Park District Foundation. And just a little recap, we've had this program for a number of years. The intent of that grant is to encourage other organizations or individuals to partner with us to make improvements to park amenities, park facilities. It's been a great program. A lot of great projects have come because of this. And then we are pausing that program temporarily, hoping to bring that up sooner or down the road here. But as the foundation has more full-time staff and a few major projects going on right now, we felt it was a good time to direct our efforts towards that at the moment. But this request is made by Nick Dawson. Nick came to us last year in 2022 with an idea for a great project at one of our dog parks at Brant Crossing Dog Park, located south of Shields Arena, down that parkway there. Nick had an Eagle Scout project, had this idea to basically create a small agility features in the dog park. So we were able to review that as a foundation. Dave Beats had reviewed that too with his park staff. So we agreed it was a great project and was approved last year. Nick and family and friends began to construct that at the park. And I believe once Nick got into this project, he realized there's some more expenses than he envisioned to begin with, including not hand mixing concrete, getting a mixer, things of that nature. So Nick went a little bit over budget on this project and had a request. He submitted all the receipts for this and requesting reimbursement for $432.01. So this was presented to our foundation board last month and was approved across the board. We did bring it to facilities the following day and was approved there as well. So in essence, the foundation board is an advisory board, advisory committee to this. These have to have final approval from the park board as well. So if there are any questions, I can take those at this time.
Yeah, when we talked about it at the foundation, if this was a youth organization that came and said they were going to build a whatever, we'd hold them to a different standard. But we're talking about a high school kid that's working on his Eagle Scout Award. And, so I guess I'm comfortable with the overage and going half on it. So, and I think the foundation was unified in that direction as well. So
I kind of felt like it was kind of a good learning lesson for a young individual, right? Of sometimes it doesn't always go the way you plan and you think. And yeah, I agree. I also would support this.
Yeah, it's always more expensive and takes more time.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is the dog park right by my house that I take my dog to, and the agility stuff and the shelter, the shade shelter area that it's being used by the dogs. Yet it's, but yet it's still a large enough open space that it's not like it hinders anybody from running around and having a good time. So, yeah, it's been a nice addition to the park, and so.
Well, I will make a motion to approve the Fargo Park District Foundation Board recommendation to provide matching grant funds in the amount of $432.01 to Nick Dawson as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'm going to abstain from voting.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 8, board to consider approval of resolution to declare emergency exits for 2023 flood. Dave?
Thank you, Madam President. Commissioners, in your packet is a resolution. This is similar to what we've done in years past when we've been looking at flooding conditions. What this resolution does is a couple of things. If levels should get higher than what's anticipated, with the experience we've had, we know that once the river even comes out of its banks a little bit, it doesn't take that much more additional moisture to send us into much higher numbers. So part of what this resolution would allow us to do as staff is to forego the actual advertising and some of the bidding requirements that exist under Century Code. If we got into an emergency situation, we would be able to secure quotes through a proposal process and act and get help from contractors if needed. Now, we don't anticipate that being the case this year, but this is something that we would like to have in place should the unforeseen happen for us. Another good thing that this resolution does is if we do get into a larger flood event than what we anticipate right now, this has to be in place for us to be able to participate in FEMA reimbursements. The City Commission heard a similar request a week ago. They adopted their emergency resolution. So that's what's before you to consider today. We're asking as staff that we adopt this resolution to give us those latitudes should we need them.
Just out of general interest, is this something that's in our budget?
We do have contingency dollars set aside. I defer to our finance director to know exactly what those are if that's desired, but we do have contingency dollars set aside for certain events such as this.
Is there a kind of like a, when does this end, you know? Is there like an expiration date on this, or how do we have to take action to terminate this, or how does
We
that?
do not. Basically, in the resolution, it states that once the flood event has been concluded, and it's specific to the spring flood event. So if we were to have another event, let's say in June or July, we would have to come forth with another resolution. So there is some language in there that addresses that, but it is kind of open-ended as we don't know exactly when that would be. But it's specific to the spring flood event.
So the governor just declared some emergency stuff, and maybe you talked about it before I got here, but does that have any impact on local municipalities like the Park District? Or?
It does. The steps as I know them, Commissioner Rosted, is that's a part of the equation that we need to have happen in order for us as a municipal entity to capitalize on not only securing contractors should we need them, but also to participate in FEMA funding should it become available for this event. There's several things that need to happen. One of those is that the governor needs to declare a state of emergency exists within the state. And then each municipality needs to also pass a resolution similar for this. We learned this kind of the hard way as we had staff turnover in 2019 when we did go to reimburse for FEMA reimbursement. We were allowed to participate in that, but we had to go underneath the city's umbrella because we missed some of these steps, quite frankly, in that time frame.
Right, I remember that now.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate us being ahead of the game and doing it at a regular board meeting as well and not having to quickly act, being ready. So thank you.
I'll move to approve the resolution to declare an emergency exists for the 2023 flood.
Second.
Any more discussion? Dave?
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson?
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch?
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted?
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan?
Aye. No one has anything else? Do we need a motion to?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, commissioners.